In the modern world, there are certain traditions that are much harder to live. So, for example, the emphasis in Islam on taking care of the neighbor. Many people do not know their neighbors, never even get to know their names after years and years of living next door to them. But the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that no one of you believes if they go to sleep full while their neighbor is hungry. If you don't even know what your neighbor's circumstances are, how would you know if they're hungry or not? And so you'll often find that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, builds this community by layering the responsibilities that you have to people around you. So it starts with your family, and then it goes to your neighbors, and then it goes to your guests. So whoever believes in God and the last day, let them honor their guests. This is a tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The emphasis on being a noble host, that when someone comes into your home, and this is all tied to how you view humanity. So who that guest is inherently noble because they're a creation of God, whether they're of a higher economic class or not. It goes to the idea of what you choose to serve with no ulterior motive, with no benefit except for seeking the pleasure of God. And so you give them only your best of what you have to offer in your home. And that's indeed how the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was. If you walked into his home, you would not be able to distinguish between someone that was a close relative of his and someone that was literally homeless in the street and in need of a meal that day. And you keep in mind, in honoring them, that it is not just the tangible things that you're providing to them, but it's rather the smile that you give to them. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, mentions a smile while serving someone a glass of water is a form of charity, and not to belittle that form of charity. And the way that you make that guest feel welcomed, and the way that you engage that guest with conversation, even going to the extent that if a person is fasting and their guest is eating, to break their fast if it is a voluntary fast, so that they can make their guest feel sufficiently welcomed and honored as they sit in their home. On the other hand, you have the emphasis on the guest honoring the host as well. How does the guest honor the host? The guest walks in, the guest sits where the host prefers them to sit, not making it inconvenient for the family. So if the family needs to move around in a certain way, you even ask the host where you should sit. This is an Islamic etiquette that we have. The guest does not burden the host with expectations and by asking for so many different things, but rather letting the host provide what the host has to provide and not being critical of anything that the host provides, nor showing any displeasure with those things. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who is described as the most honorable host, is also described as the most honorable guest. When he would sit in a person's home, he would show gratitude for whatever was provided to him, and then he would engage every member of the home, specifically the children. He would ask about the children. He would ask about the things that were of interest to the children. He would pray with those people, and he would pray for those people. And it was special to them to have the Prophet of God ask for a rug to be spread so that they could pray together, and then he would pray for them, which is the greatest form of showing gratitude to these people as they host you in their home. And so the idea here is that no one of you believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. When you're the host, you ask yourself, what is it that the guest would love? If I was a guest, what would I want from the host right now? And if you are a guest, what is it that the host would want? If I was the host, what would I be hoping for? What would I be capable of providing? And what would be of a burden to me? No one of you believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. Host, guest, husband, wife, neighbor. It all starts with seeing an opportunity from God to please one another with that person who is in front of you, who is by necessity an honored creation of God, who says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, that we have honored the children of